Thank you so much for your patience. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
We
hello,
are back.
hello.
And we give all glory and honor to the good Lord above. And my name is Tara, and this is Auntie Cousin Sister Lisa. We are going to read some scriptures today. And as always, I like to read from the New King James Version. And Sister Cousin Lisa here will be reading from the King James Version. Both translations are wonderful. So, to each his own. With that being said, join us. We concluded the book of Genesis, and now we are going to start in the book of Exodus. So, Exodus 1 and 2 is what we'll be reading today. And so, Cousin is going to go first.
All right. Thank you for joining us. I'll be reading, as she says, from the King James Version. We're in Exodus chapter 1, verse 1. Now, these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Verse 2. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Verse 3. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Verse 4. Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. Verse 5. And all the souls that came out of the lions of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. Verse 6. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. Verse 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Verse 9. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Verse 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasures, cities, Pithom and Ramesses. Verse 12. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Verse 13. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. Verse 14. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of the service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. Verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. Verse 16. And he said, When you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Verse 17. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. Verse 18. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, Why have you done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? Verse 19. And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere midwives come in unto them. Verse 20. Therefore God dealt with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. Verse 21. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. Verse 22. Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, cousin.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, so I am going to go over to Exodus 2. All right. And a man of the house of Levi went and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. Verse 2. So the woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him 3 months. Verse 3. But when she could no longer hide him, she took an ark of bulrushes for him, daubed it with asphalt and pitch, put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the river's bank. Verse 4. And his sister stood afar off to know what would be done to him. Verse 5. Then the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, and her maidens walked along the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it. Verse 6. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Verse 7. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? Verse 8. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. So the maiden went and called the child's mother. Verse 9. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. Verse 10. And the child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. So she called his name Moses, saying, Because I drew him out of the water. Verse 11. Now it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out to his brethren and looked at their burdens, and he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his brethren. Verse 12. So he looked this way and that way, and when he saw no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Verse 13. And when he went out the second day, behold, two Hebrew men were fighting, and he said to the one, Who did the wrong? Why are you striking your companion? Verse 14. Then he said, Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? So Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known. Verse 15. When Pharaoh heard of this matter, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Verse 16. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the trough to water their father's flock. Verse 17. Then the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. Verse 18. When they came to Reuel, their father, he said, How is it that you have come so soon today? Verse 19. And they said, An Egyptian delivered us from the hands of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock. Verse 20. So he said to his daughters, And where is he? Why is it that you have left the man? Call him that he may eat bread. Verse 21. Then Moses was content to live with the man, and he gave Zipporah, his daughter, to Moses. Verse 22. And she bore him a son. He called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a foreign land. Verse 23. Now it happened in the process of time that the king of Egypt died. Then the children of Israel groaned because of the bondage, and they cried out, and their cry came up to God because of the bondage. Verse 24. So God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. Verse 25. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God acknowledged them. So thank you, as always, for joining us for the reading of the oracles of God. We love you, and we hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of his Spirit, washed in his blood. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long.